So we are going to get started. This is going to be a great panel, and thank you guys for all being here. We're going to have a really interesting conversation today. But what I did want to do, as we were talking yesterday, is we did feel like it was important that we defined what OTT is. It's been a term that's been in the industry for several years, but it seems that there's still a lot of questions on what it really means. So you'll see behind me here, this is how we're defining OTT. And basically what OTT stands for is over the top. And I guess over the top isn't so self-explanatory either. So it's really the delivery of content across internet-connected devices. So that content could be film, audio, TV, any kind of multimedia content that's out there. And it's delivered through a broadband connection. So you don't need a cable subscription, you don't need a satellite subscription. You basically can access it across any of your internet-connected devices. So we're going to talk about that platform today. And the reason that we're going to talk about it is because it's becoming significantly more important in our industry. And John sort of teed this up for me earlier and threw out some of the stats out there. But if you think about cord cutters, cord nevers, cord shavers, it's having a significant impact on cable subscription and who's watching television, whether it's live or recorded television. And if you look at these stats and you see that cable subscriptions are going down, in the first half of 2017, they were down 1 million subscriptions alone, and the pattern is going to continue. eMarketer, just some stats here that I wanted to throw out. eMarketer estimates there will be 193.3 million OTT users in 2017, 168 million US connected TV users. Those are really significant numbers when you think about what the cable universe, the television universe out there. This is almost matching those numbers. So what we're going to do today, I want to talk about 3 things today, and that is what are the biggest challenges that we're facing in this industry? We're going to dig into measurement in particular because that's one of the biggest ones. I want to talk about ad innovation. This is a space where I think is ripe for ad innovation, and things need to be done differently in this space, and we have the opportunity to do that. And we're not going to get out without talking about live because that's the latest news that's going on in this space as well. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to start with Enid here, who's here from Nielsen, because the biggest challenge I think we've faced in this space is who's really watching through OTT devices. Can we measure who it really is and get at who that audience is? So what advances have we made in terms of measurement in this space?
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. So Nielsen actually announced just last week the launch of our streaming meter. This is something that enables us to measure who's watching what, both in terms of what content, so there's OTT content providers like Hulu, as well as on what types of devices, smart TVs, Roku, et cetera. It's an exciting space, and it's really interesting to us here at Nielsen. People are consuming more and more media, so there's a lot of talk of live TV viewership coming down, but what is important to recognize is that we're actually growing the pie in terms of video consumption with all of these new choices that are made available. And it's still early days with this streaming meter, but what we're seeing is, so first of all, actually, I should mention that 62.5% of US TV households have devices that enable streaming content on the TV glass today. And within those homes, roughly 12% of the TV usage is streaming content, which means that it's creating really new opportunities for advertisers, for marketers, both in terms of advertising where it's ad-supported, as well as other forms of getting messages out through integrations. And the last thing I'll just say quickly about this is, one thing that's kind of cool to watch about it is this concept of what's the best way to market that opportunity to marketers. So, one thing that's pretty interesting, I think, about what Hulu has been doing is they've sort of leapfrogged TV networks in terms of selling audiences specifically, which I think is the direction that the networks are trying to go.
Yeah, I mean, Peter and Seth, Nielsen is obviously making advances in this space, but so much more in terms of measurement has been in the works. What are you guys seeing? What are you guys working on that is important for marketers to know?
Well, I think that marketers really need measurement to give them comfort. So we trust Nielsen and Comscore to help measure audiences. We're using other partners like Moat and Integral Ad Science to help measure viewability. Increasingly, we're trying to measure business outcomes. So again, Nielsen Catalina Solutions is one way to measure what happens when someone sees your ad in the grocery store. Another partner is Samba TV. They do tuning campaigns and things like that. So all forms of these measurement give marketers and their agencies, I think, confidence in investing in this space. So all that measurement, a lot of people think ad tech is a tax on the media ecosystem, but if it gives people confidence to shift their budgets and make an investment, then I think ad tech can be actually a dividend for publishers like us, just to say, here's the measurement you need in order to shift the budgets.
Yeah, echoing on that statement and really just touching on how we sort of began the day around disruption and innovation, I think with the adoption of OTT, it doesn't necessarily present a challenge necessarily, but more so an opportunity for creative advertisers to take advantage of what frankly presents the branding and impact of television with the sort of underlying infrastructure of digital. And frankly, at Roku, in terms of looking at those numbers and figures, Roku is currently in 15 million US households. We define that as an active household that used a Roku within the past 30 days. Within those households, and that's a number that's actually up 43% year over year. We also look at the amount of time people use those devices. So right now, on average, this year to date, our users are actually streaming about 1 billion hours of content per month. But the good news is that about 50% of that is actually ad supported, and that's the fastest growing segment within Roku. So what we want to do from a measurement standpoint, in addition to creating first of its kind measurement offerings with Nielsen that allows us to transact on demo guarantee, specifically as measured and verified by Nielsen, and also moving towards more behavioral outcomes, is really answer a very simple question that advertisers constantly throw at us, which is, we spend a lot in television, we spend a lot in digital media, how do we know this is actually an audience that we're not currently reaching today? And a new measurement capability that we rolled out using our smart TV data. Some people might not know, but Roku actually powers the smart TV operating system for a number of different manufacturers. And we use that ability to look at ad occurrence across both linear television and dedicated OTT investment to be able to quantify for our clients exactly how much incremental audience we're getting from OTT, and that really solves the question.
Can I just comment one thing about that? Actually, of that 12%, people tend to be watching streaming media on their TV glass during primetime hours. I think this is really interesting. So in other words, we're treating this content like other TV content that you would see on your television glass.
Yeah. So Steve, does having consistent measurement matter to you across channels? And is this audience that you're reaching? You've done a lot of work in the OTT space. How do you prove? How do you know that this is a valuable audience to you?
Well, I should start by HP is into digital video with both feet. It's an area that we've really embraced. When you saw the charts about cord cutting and television, linear television usage, the pronounced changes are most in the younger groups. And I joke, we have two target audiences in our big campaigns. We have younger millennials and we have slightly older millennials. And both of those groups are the ones who are cutting the cord or the ones who are sort of, who never subscribed at all. So those are incredibly important audiences to us. In terms of measurement, we have challenges across the digital ecosystem, but it doesn't mean that we're not out there experimenting, trying new things. We spend a lot of time with our partners on the measurement side, trying to get consistent measurement across, viewability, across ad fraud, across, safe environments for your ads. Those are things we spend a lot of time on. But I'd harken back to a point that Peter made, which is like a shift in mentality. Yes, I want consistent measurement. Yes, I want to know who's viewing. I'm mostly focused on business outcomes. Business outcomes will trump viewership, will trump any kind of media metric every day of the week, and that is really what we're focused on. So to be able to take what I'm doing in this venue and be able to take it right through to consideration and right to purchase is really the holy grail.
Yeah. And are you guys developing measurement platforms to help answer that question?
Yeah, so we've a pretty robust research group. We have a Hulu viewer panel. Again, we're partnering with third parties like I mentioned, Samba and Nielsen Catalina Solutions. I think almost everybody on the sell side is waking up to the fact that that's what you care about. From Hulu to every other publisher, broadcast, cable, you name it, I think business outcomes, you saw it in the upfronts, in the pitches last year. I think it'll only continue to trend.
Yeah, we actually hear that across verticals, across industries. Peter mentioned Nielsen Catalina, which measures with CPG products. We also announced an acquisition a couple of weeks ago, but a company called Visual IQ that enables us to offer similar metrics for other verticals. One thing that I hear actually pretty frequently, I'm curious for your perspective on this, Steve, is kind of trying to balance that need for outcome metrics with still continuing to grow your audience, meaning reaching those consumers that may not yet actually fit your target, but are important for you long term.
Well, I think we have as a company, we have a incredibly broad portfolio of products, from, simple $399, laptop that you can get at Best Buy to, $5,000 workstations that are very specific in their use case. And so we have a variety of different targets and a variety of different KPIs. For some of that, we're just trying to get the best possible ROI on sales. And sometimes we're going out and we're trying to reshape hearts and minds. If we're trying to reshape hearts and minds and introduce newer, younger people into the HP franchise, it's going to be a different set of KPIs, and it's not going to be as much geared to, what's the ROI on a sales basis in terms of how much I spent and how much I delivered. That having been said, everybody in the company is accountable for our marketing expenditures and how that eventually leads to a sale.
Obviously important, and I think we'll be talking more about measurement changes and innovations in the near future. I want to shift a little bit to ad innovations. So we hear a lot about the biggest news and ad innovation in television or 6-second ads. It feels to me like OTT is ripe for true innovation beyond just a measured length of time video commercial. Where are you guys in terms of ad innovations? What marketing opportunities are there out there for our clients?
But the foundational opportunity in OTT lies in the fact that we're not married to a programming grid, right? The reason 15s and 30s exist is because with a programming grid, you have to start your shows neatly at the top and the bottom of the hour. When the viewing is by choice and convenience, then our advertising pods can take any shape form that we want. So we at Hulu have pioneered something way back called the ad selector, so you can choose to watch the sedan or the minivan ad. We have a format where you can watch a long-form video and then get the rest of the episode commercial-free. And then today, to echo, I think it was a gentleman from Teeds who was talking about interactive. Is that right? Am I remember that? Emma Tal, what's his name? The Teeds guy. He was very good. His number one thing was interactivity, and the nice thing about OTT is that everything is served through an IP address, so there's no reason all the things that you've come to embrace in the browser space with interactivity, you can't do in a television environment. So we're partnering with companies like Brightline and Innovid to make that option available. So I'll let you continue.
Sure. Well, I think Roku's pioneering advanced ad products in the OTT space. Just the fundamental belief that the company has that the future of all TV will be streamed opens up the opportunity. And what that really means is that it's going to be delivered to users over the internet. So, we've built a purpose-based operating system. Roku's objective or goal is to be the operating system for television. And with that comes an underpinnings of ad technology that enables publishers to, one, build their overall audience on Roku and connect with consumers in meaningful ways. And frankly, a meaningful way can be a 30-second, a 15-second ad. But it could also be much more about extending engagement with that audience through interactivity, through more of a dynamic experience that unlocks value and utility for the user. everything that we do is built through the mind of the viewer and trying to enhance the television experience, and that includes the ad products. So a lot of the clients that we work with, frankly, bring us in to start with a blank canvas and really begin to ideate on some of the really creative ways they can, use the platform to engage with television viewers. And I think we're really just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible.
Steve, do you think there's been enough innovation?
You know what? I think we've redefined innovation. So we heard one of the earlier speakers talk about creative and media coming together, right? Which we've been talking about for years, and that's finally happening. And now what we're seeing, I think, is a little more complicated than that, which is the publishers are getting involved, and the ad tech companies are getting involved, and the measurement folks are getting involved. And I think it's going to produce better outcomes. So, yeah, we're big believers in things like the ad selector. I love this conversation. When we work with our creative guys, they say, I got this 2-minute spot, and you guys got to find a place to run it, right? And we say, shorter is better, and blah, blah, blah. And so what the ad selector and sort of choice elements in the platform allow you to do is they say, well, you guys prove it, right? Why don't we put it out there and let consumers choose what they want to interact with? So, it's not just one kind of tactic or one technique. I think it's thinking about the space differently. We have a couple of these things that we talk about in the marketing organization about our collective responsibility to make the digital space, some folks would say more valuable, others would say just a little bit less annoying. So it's kind of a collective responsibility I think we all have, and when we use the kinds of commercial messages that people actually opt into, I think we kind of advance that forward. And, as these two gentlemen have said, because the ad space and the technology isn't wed to, time of day and requiring 3-minute pods, et cetera, I think there's just such a blank canvas to be able to do great things and take creative ideas and find a way to communicate those in a way that consumers really embrace.
Can I?
The most important thing about that is actually ensuring that it reflects or aligns to your brand, like that great example that John gave earlier for Black Mirror. Sorry, I haven't seen it. I'm the wrong demo. That's a great example, mainly because it was an ad that could appeal to this demo that thinks that they despise ads.
Right.
And we all despise certain types of ads. An interactive or an engaging spot of any sort, or for lack of a better word, spot, is only going to be as successful if it's actually driving your brand, if it's driving your results, and that means it has to align with your brand and your demo.
And it's a spectacular use
Target.
of data. So, everything we do starts with the audience and starts with the data. And we used to think about it in terms of demos and so forth, and now we think about it much more creatively.
The thing I would pile on to Enid's comment is that I don't think anybody really hates ads, but I think everybody hates irrelevance. So the creative imperative and the data opportunity is to put more relevant ads in front of the right person at the right time, and then it'll be easier for ads to do their job.
Yeah, interesting fact about Roku is the top search term on our platform is actually free. About 40% of our viewers are not paying for traditional cable through a pay TV operator. So there's clearly a hunger and desire from the audience to get content that it doesn't come with a cost, that is free, that they recognize can come with some ad messaging surrounding it, and they recognize that that's part of the exchange for that content. I just think that we have to be sensitive about ensuring that the ad loads aren't particularly large, that we're sensitive with that sort of back and forth with viewers to make sure that it's still an enjoyable experience for them, or else they might shift to commercial-free environments.
There's a lot of focus in the industry on ad blocking in the digital space, and it's because it's unique to the digital space. But people have been ad blocking since the dawn of ads, I think. And when you think about viewership to, like, looking at TV, for instance, there was a lot of fear when VCRs were first rolled out that this was going to be a way to record programming, watch it anytime you want, and also skip through the ads. And then the same thing with the DCR, this is going to kill TV. And in fact, it actually doesn't. These are heavily penetrated devices, and there for sure is ad skipping, and I'm one of those people who does that, quite honestly. I'll also rewind the ones that are interesting.
So I think, we have a few more minutes, and there's one more topic I really want to discuss, and that's live live programming. So OTT sort of came to be as a place for on-demand content that you could watch anytime on any device whenever you wanted to. And now we're seeing a shift to live. So Hulu announced a live offering. We see a tremendous amount of money being spent on original programming and live streaming rights. What impact do you think this is going to have on the OTT industry? And to our kids, the next generation, are they going to know the difference between what a broadcast network, a cable network is versus a Hulu or a Netflix or any other application on their OTT device?
There's a lot of questions in there.
Yeah, I threw it all in. We have 10 minutes to get through all of them.
I have to point to our product. We have 3 products. We have the on-demand product with limited ads, the on-demand product without ads, and then we have the new live skinny bundle, for lack of a better description. And with the new skinny bundle, we have the entire on-demand library commingled with about 50 live channels. And the interface invites people to look for the show they want, and we then decide behind the scenes, like, is the best experience the on-demand experience or the live experience? So most people really want live for the sports and the news, and what we're struggling to roll out as fast as we can is every affiliate across the country. So when you sign up for Hulu, you get your local, Boston content from your local affiliate. So we have 50 channels nationally, and we've already lit up over 275 affiliates, and we continue to roll that out. Again, the interface is just going to bring up the most relevant, easy-to-consume version, whether it's live or on-demand, in that interface. And just one other thing is, you say, well, people understand the difference between broadcast or cable or whatever. People want shows. They look for shows. So I think that's a challenge to the existing network brands. And I believe in the future, if there's a scripted comedy or drama or documentary or film, it doesn't matter if it's live. It may debut at a certain day and time, but the whole idea of, like, you have to be in front of your TV set at a certain time applies to so very few shows these days, whether it's The Bachelorette or Game of Thrones. I think those are the 2.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can time shift and binge to your heart's content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we tend to agree. I believe that the sort of business of television is transforming to a platform-based model, where there's a single one-stop shop for a live, on-demand, pay TV, premium original content series developed by non-traditional content producers. And that's frankly what Roku's aspiration is to be able to deliver that to consumers however they want to consume it, and through the operating system, enabled discovery of programming that really it matters to that viewer, and that could be live or that could be something that's on demand. And 15% of broadband households are actually consuming live television through over-the-air antennas. And I'm sure Nielsen can verify the fact that that's actually one of the fastest growing ways of consuming live television today. So one of the things Roku has done is built a sort of guide that incorporates live over-the-air channels with streaming programming, and putting that in one place so that viewers can search and find programming that they want to watch, and it's all part of what we call More Ways to Watch, which is part of our operating system, and it introduces content recommendation and the ability to restart a show from a publisher's app if they've tuned in and it's already a couple of minutes into the show airing. And within that, there's opportunities, again, to message and partner and sponsor to reach audiences within that experience.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, actually. For the first time in, I think, over a decade, broadcast-only homes has actually increased in penetration. It's really a shift from, I think, some cable providers to more interactive devices.
Yeah, I don't know if we could call it cord cutting anymore, because there's subscriptions where people are paying to get television content and they're watching it on a television screen. So it is maybe a different term that the industry needs to come up with to really align on
Totally
what the
agree.
behavior is.
Yeah. And how challenging, Enid, is it to measure now this live viewing that's going to be coming through these new platforms?
I think we've got it covered with our streaming meter.
So,
And if not, we'll go to outcome-based measurement. So at the very least, we know that we're reaching a verified audience and we're tracking it back to some sort of outcome that matters to the advertiser.
I think the biggest shift for perhaps the agency side of the house is that you read a lot about, oh, all these broadcast shows that launch every fall most of them are doomed for failure. And I would submit that most of these shows are great, great shows, and they're doomed for failure because of the current measure of success. If people judge the success of a show based on the recency of the viewing within 7 days, that's not a fair way to look at any show. For example, at Hulu, we have a show called The Path, starring Aaron Paul. We did one season. We released it. We knew we were going to do the whole season. It wasn't under threat of cancellation. And then when we released season 2 and started marketing season 2, we saw that a 40% jump in people starting to watch season 1. It was almost like they were waiting to see if we were committed to the show. So again, the whole definition of live being successful, of recency of tuning in, I think that'll go away.
Yeah, I think to your point, Peter, that's really a matter of an evolution of the industry, right? Because whether 3 days or 7 days, these were compromises that the industry made. The reality is we could provide the measurement regardless of the time frame.
Right, but the industry needed some sort of standardization to transact off of.
Right.
What would you predict that standardization becomes in a world where live is shifting to different platforms and how it's being consumed and when it's being consumed is shifting even more?
And for a lot of marketers, having your message out there with a certain amount of reach within a certain time frame obviously is critical.
It's really important.
Yeah.
How important, Steve, is that to you?
I think to your earlier point, I think the skinny bundles are a huge threat to, sort of the existing, cable universe. And I don't pick on Peter's point, but say it slightly differently. The broadcast calendar doesn't conform very well to viewing habits of younger folks. It doesn't really conform to the needs of marketers either. So it's a model that, it's funny, I've been reading the trades for more years than I'd care to say, and everybody keeps saying that the thing's going to go away and we're going to be introducing shows differently and it's not going to be one great extravaganza. And as you say, this determine whether a show is successful or not in 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. But until the business model maybe completely seismically changes, it's kind of set in place. So it's kind of, we've been chipping away at a little bit at a time, and some of the broadcast networks have worked with Hulu to make their bets in other areas, and that's maybe a smarter business way than totally abandoning what's the existing, kind of broadcast model. As a consumer, I like to think that the skinny bundles are going to take off, because I don't know to anybody here, I'll compare Comcast bills with you. Does anybody really think we should be spending, $200 and $225 a month on getting, a lot of channels that frankly we don't see, plus high-speed wireless? Seems like there's an opening in there.
I tend to agree with you, although I think probably the trade-off is choice, and perhaps there's too much choice at the moment, but there will have to be some kind of balance to ensure that people can find new programming, and that new programming has a shot, to Peter's point before.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of change that's going on clearly in this space, and if we have this conversation again a year from now, these numbers are going to increase dramatically, and hopefully we'll see a lot more in terms of business outcomes and measurement that shows the effectiveness of this space. So I want to thank you guys for all being here today and being part of this conversation, and I think there's more to come.
All right. Thank you.